January 3rd, 2017. Bear with me for a second, I just found out. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. It's on the agenda. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A couple of public announcements. The Senior Citizens Property Tax Work-Off Program, calendar year 2017. The town is pleased to announce that the Senior Work-Off Abatement Program will be available beginning January 2017. The program provides senior citizens who are resident property owners the opportunity to provide up to 136 hours of service to the town in exchange for up to $1,500 reduction in personal property taxes in FY 2018. Participation is limited and opportunities are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. Everybody that's interested can contact Mr. Kevin Johnston in the Payrolls Benefits Office. And I'm sure that information will be on the town's website as well. And then quickly, because of our new open meeting law stuff, Chairman Luca signed the warrant dated 12/27/2016, warrant 17-11 for $637,000, $931.36. Get that right? Did I catch them all right?
I didn't think you were going to be able to do it for a second there.
And then, as it's not on here, but as usual, the winter parking ban is in effect until further notice.
April something.
April 15th, yeah.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, the only change would be the minutes approved for December 20th aren't ready yet, but they will be for the board for your next meeting.
Okay. Janice, you have any?
Nope. So I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda's approved. Anybody here for public input? A full house and nobody's... just looking at the clock. So the first article on the agenda is consideration and action on the declaration of state of emergency pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31, regarding the McNiff Farm at 66 Westford Road. And I will turn that over to the town administrator to explain.
Members of the board, as the board is aware, the events at the McNiff Farm at 66 Westford Road have come at a considerable cost, and those costs are ongoing. And as the board is aware, when we put together the FY 2017 budget, there was no way to foresee these costs, and things are as they are. As of right now, the estimated cost impact is approximately $107,000. That's approximately $25,000 for the exterminators, approximately $50,000 for the contractor that's removing all of the harborage, another $10,000 for the boarding and securing of the property, $12,000 in legal costs just for December alone, specifically to 66 Westford Road, and another approximate $15,000 in miscellaneous costs for overtime or additional hours for the animal inspector, building department, other costs that were associated. It comes to approximately $107,000 as of today. We're in the process, as the board can appreciate, of finalizing all of that, all of those records and costs continue to be incurred. So that being said, in the memo that I've transmitted to you, in consultation with the town accountant, the Department of Revenue, and our town council, these bills need to be paid, obviously. And we looked at what are the mechanisms available to pay them. Obviously, they're not appropriated for in the FY17 budget, as I mentioned. The town's reserve fund has $150,000 in it. The costs would almost deplete all of that. Plus, there are some procedural issues with the status of the FinCom to access that. So, absence of that, under General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31, the Board of Selectmen can declare certain instances a state of emergency, as you read, Mr. Chair, on the agenda. If you were to declare the conditions at 66 Westford Road as emergency, and we have researched this with the Department of Revenue and Town Council, and this does meet the standards of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31. By declaring it a state of emergency, we would then transmit the declaration that you would approve tonight to the Department of Revenue with all of the exact costs, which would be backed up with the documentation. The Department of Revenue would then authorize the town to pay these bills, pay these expenditures, and whatever that final cost would be applied to next year's tax rate. So when they do the recap sheet for next year, let's just say hypothetically it ends up being $200,000. That would be applied to next year's tax rate, just as all the raise and appropriate articles are through town meeting. In looking at all of the options, I'm respectfully recommending that the board exercise its authority to declare a state of emergency for 66 Westford Road per Chapter 44, Section 31. You have the declaration in the packet. The clerk would read it into the record. The board would vote on that declaration. We would then submit that to the Director of Accounts at DOR along with the exact accounting of the costs, and they would approve the payment of those costs. And I would add, if it's the will of the board, since ultimately the taxpayer is footing this bill, as we all know, that those exact costs would also be put on the town's website and made public.
I agree.
But I think that is the most prudent way to proceed as far as paying for the work that has been done and will be done.
Well, good job of researching this. I didn't even know this was an option. So similar to, I guess, a snow budget, right? What's the only thing we can deficit spend on?
Right, that
Allows us
question was,
to-
as the board's aware, the general law, the only thing that we can deficit spend for unilaterally is snow and ice expenditures. So this, we'd have to go through these steps on this.
Okay. Seems like the proper thing to do in order to keep progress moving along there. Do you need Janice to read this declaration into as the clerk, and then we'll vote on it?
Yes, we were advised that if the board so chooses that the clerk should read the declaration into the record, the board should consider it, vote it, and then sign it.
Okay.
Okay. Declaration, excuse me. Declaration of state of emergency. Whereas the property located at 66 Westford Road, the property, has been long operated as a farm primarily for the raising of animals, including cows, pigs, and fowl for slaughter. And whereas the property is located in a neighborhood with adjacent residential properties, and whereas the property has fallen into significant decay and despair, and whereas significant hazardous conditions exist at the property, including, but not limited to, 100 sick and neglected animals, rodent infestation and rat burrows, dead pigs, calves with improper, inadequate shelter, and no access to water that are suffering from communicable diseases, animal waste throughout the property, non-functional heat and unsafe electrical wiring in the residential structure, large amounts of accumulated trash and debris and structural dangers, including collapsing floors and unsafe ceilings in the property structures, and whereas the failure of the owners of the property to comply with the state sanitary code, the state building code, and the town's condemnation orders present immediate and significant threats to the health and well-being of the persons and animals at the property, area residents, and the surrounding environment, and Whereas on December 16th, 2016, the Middlesex Superior Court, upon complaint of the town, issued an order authorizing the town to take certain actions, including the removal of animals, animal food, and animal waste, as the town deems necessary to abate the threat to public health and safety at the property. And whereas the court authorized the town to enter the property and take such actions as may be deemed necessary to exterminate any and all infestations of rats and other vermin. And whereas the court authorized the town to secure the property in the interest of protecting public health and safety. Now, therefore, based upon the conditions of the property and the obligations of the town to protect public health and safety, the Board of Selectmen hereby declares that the conditions of the property constitute a major disaster and catastrophe which pose an immediate threat to the health or safety of persons or property within the town. 2, that the town shall undertake such measures as are necessary in accordance with all lawful authority to address the catastrophic conditions of the property in the interest of protecting the health and safety of persons and property within the town. And 3, that pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31, payments of liabilities incurred by the town as a result of this declaration shall be made with the written approval of the Director of Accounts in the Department of Revenue from any available funds in the town treasury, and the amounts of such liabilities incurred shall be reported by the town accountant to the assessors, who shall include the amount so reported in the aggregate appropriations assessed in the determination of the next subsequent annual tax rate. And it would be signed this day, 3rd day of January 2017.
So moved.
Could you read that last paragraph again, please?
I'm sorry, which part?
The last paragraph.
The last paragraph? That pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 44, Section 31, payments of liabilities incurred by the town as a result of this declaration shall be made with the written approval of the Director of Accounts in the Department of Revenue from any available funds in the town treasury, and the amounts of such liabilities incurred shall be reported by the town accountant to the assessors, who shall include the amounts so reported in the aggregate appropriations assessed in the determination of the next subsequent annual tax rate.
I think I'm more confusing the second time around. Read it.
Where is that?
So moved again.
Sorry.
Any discussion regarding this? I mean,
We have no choice?
no. The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, Janice?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion passes, and we can, I'm sure, start the considerable paperwork that it's going to take to get this going. But good find on this, Robert and Carly. Lisa.
Mr. Chairman, so just to clarify for everybody's benefit and the public's benefit, so what will happen now that this has been approved, we will submit this declaration to the Director of Accounts at the Department of Revenue, along with the specific and exact accounting of the costs to date with the relevant receipts and invoices. They will review it. They will then authorize us to pay these bills, most likely from, as Selectman Livingston read in the third paragraph, from available funds in the Treasury, and whatever those funds, that exact amount is, then is applied to next year's tax rate, as is most of the raise and appropriate articles at town meeting are what in part set the tax rate for next year. So these costs will be calculated in the tax rate for next year.
Assuming we don't get some payback from the landowner. Just throwing that out there.
Right.
Right, I think that that's a fair point as well. I think it's important to note that the Board of Selectmen, probably at your next meeting, will be discussing applying all of these costs as a lien to the property. As everybody knows, a lien is only as good as it can be collected, but that would be the recommendation, that all of these costs will be passed over to Mr. McNiff for payment. If they're not paid, would be lien to the property.
And we're $107,000 officially probably into it now.
The estimate is approximately $107,000.
Without
to date.
removing buildings or vehicles and all the stuff that probably will be coming down the pipe. And are we keeping track of like police details and stuff like that too? Or anything that's been extra? And I think there was a police detail out there on Christmas Eve.
That was part of the regular shift.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so that was, oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. Good, I just don't want anything to slip by that
Yeah.
is not accounted for on the property owner's side. All
Just
right.
a question about the declaration of intent. The issue of ownership came up last meeting, and I believe the word that I heard was owners in the declaration. Has that been determined? There are multiple owners?
Yeah.
Let me look.
Through the chair to Mr. Magno's question. Legally, Mr. Ralph McNiff is the owner of the property. We've confirmed that at 66 Westford Road. However, in looking at the tax records and some payments that were made, there is a third party that made payments on the property
Yes.
previous, which is legal. However, all of the actions and things that have happened on that property, Mr. McNiff is legally responsible for, and he is the legal owner. But part of his back taxes the previous time were paid by a third party entity.
Yes.
And
That's exactly how I understood it too. Someone stepped in 2008, I think we determined, was it that?
well,
Did
if
him a
there
favor or
isn't
something?
even objection through the chair, I know that the tax collector can speak to the tax situation on the
Do you
property.
mind, sir? Please. Hi, Susan.
So, hi. Sorry. Yeah, sure. So the property at 66 Westford Road is or has already been in tax title. So it is in tax title, and it's just continuing the subsequent every year subsequently is rolled over. And I'm not trying to be vague, but there's some things that are borderline of confidentiality. But
Sure.
I had been in conversation with him, the property owner, September, on working an agreement, and since that has fallen through, I had started again to continue on with the tax title process. And when I wrote the last letter in November was actually when everything happened to the property, this current situation. So I was in conversation with Robert because of everything going on legally. We kind of had two legal trains going at once, so I was just trying to get clarification where I stood and where everything is going on. And I have the okay just to continue on. So now that I have the current liens and so forth, I've just done the water sewer liens for 16, just going to continue on. But it is in tax title. It hasn't not been in tax title, unfortunately. So it is in the balance. It's just under 25,000, which doesn't include the next round of fees and so forth for the filing that I'll be doing.
And did you mention that he's behind on his water as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, there's the water. The water lien goes on most every year. So it's just sort of part of the balance.
Just so people understand, the tax title, just because people fall behind in the taxes doesn't mean the town can just swoop in and take their property.
Right, and
There's
there
a
is,
whole
yeah,
process.
there's a process, and you have to send a letter in so many days, and they have to be in contact, and you have to do every right, people do have rights, and, you have to enter a payment plan, there's different, it's a back and forth, unfortunately, that continues to sort of drag it along.
Does it accrue interest, like an excise
Oh,
tax
yeah,
would? Okay.
oh, absolutely, yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah, right now,
All right.
so.
Thank you.
How much does he owe the town in water and taxes?
Currently, including the 2017 amount, is just under $25,000.
That's
So it's
water
20
and tax.
For taxes, yep. Yep.
significant. So that's
So-
a couple years, I would say.
Yeah.
Of, yeah.
We have 4.
4. Okay.
This will be the 4th with 16 added on.
All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much. So to answer your question, Paul, I believe from what I understand, and I think Robert clarified that, someone stepped in and paid that, whatever that fee was back in 2008. I mean, it's a public record. It was in the 20,000 range as well. And whether they had a lien on the property, if it's sold, I think, or seems to be a lot of people wanting to attach if it sells or is developed at some point. So that's how I understood that.
So is there more than one owner? I know you said responsibility is his, but is there more than one owner?
No, not that I'm aware of. No.
Can I- Just as a point of clarification, because on the sale history, there's activity in March of 2015 and September of 2015, both with that Realty Trust group on the town's records. So can you clarify that? Because those are sales records, not tax payment records.
Could that have been? I'm just speculating. Could it have been a refinance?
It
That's
says
Yeah.
could have been, but I
Yeah, I mean
It
that's
could be a refinance.
yeah.
They could be refinance, or if you change the trust name to say and family or and all, any slight verbiage change it's listed as a
Okay.
sale. So it may not necessarily change hands, but it could have they just renamed
Could be a
the
will,
trust or-
a trust. I mean, maybe put together a will. But he is the sole owner.
Correct.
All right.
The last question that came at the last meeting was...
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're very familiar with you all, but if you don't mind just stating your names, just for the record.
One Oakley Light.
Thank you.
The last meeting, there was a request that the town look into any other liens or charges against the property. Was that looked into? Did that recover anything? Or cover anything?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, through the chair. That's the existing costs on the property of the 26,000. That's back taxes and water and sewer.
That was previous to
Previous.
December or whatever, the 20
So you
something.
didn't uncover anything else? No other owners? No other charges? No other loans against the property's value?
The only, through the chair and as mentioned by the tax collector, there is activity on the sheet that shows that a trust entity has made some payments. However, the legal owner is Mr. McNiff. He's approximately $26,000 in back taxes as of right now on the property.
Will the town make any efforts to recover any of this money, or is this going to be something that we just end up bearing? You mentioned that there was a lien is only as good as an ability to collect it. What might stop that from happening?
If you don't, the town, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to lean around you, is going to make every attempt to collect this money, whether it becomes the owner of that site or whether Mr. McNiff or his heirs pay back a portion of it, but we are not sitting here assuming we're paying for this.
And even
And-
the court has told him.
Yeah, and
Even the court has told
as
him
well.
all bills go to him.
Yeah, so that has been clearly stated through the court that everything be billed to that property owner.
So just declare bankruptcy then?
Probably so, but I mean, obviously, there's a lien on the property. So, I mean, the property is there. It has some value. And the other option is we don't do anything and let it go the way it is. So.
Yes, so ultimately, and this occurred, as has been mentioned before, back approximately before around the period of 2009, is the tax title process, like any legal process, as everyone can appreciate or may be frustrated with, is a long process. At the end of that process, the determination, if these costs are not paid, these outstanding liens and so forth, the determination can be made by the Board of Selectmen through the tax title process. To ultimately, the end game, if you will, would be the acquisition of the property. But that would be a decision that the Board of Selectmen would have to make at the appropriate time after the entire tax title process has been exhausted. But that is a potential possibility.
Any other questions regarding the taxes or the declaration of state of emergency?
So right now, it's on the taxpayers for the most part. Last meeting, you talked about going to the state to find out, if there's any liability on the inspectors that had come out prior to this whole thing exploding.
Yes.
Has that taken place?
Mr. Chairman, and answer Mr. Magnol's questions, and maybe it'd be helpful if I just give the brief, after that question, maybe the brief
Yeah, I
update
think
on
it's
the
a good
agenda on the property. Forgive me, Mr. Magnol, through the chair, your question one more time about the inspectors?
Yes, and liability on state inspectors,
Okay.
and therefore on the state.
So, as the Board of Selectmen voted at their last meeting, there are two letters that are being issued. One is to the MSPCA, which is the Massachusetts Society Against the Prevention of the Cruelty of Animals, and the other one to the Massachusetts State Department of Agriculture. Both of the letters from the board are requesting all of the state and MSPCA investigative reports, inspectional reports, and documents specifically from the period of November the 23rd to December 16th, as well as everything prior to that. The town, which is, I think, on behalf of the board and the town, which has been a frustrating matter, is we have all of the local inspectors' reports, but we have not been provided any of the state reports. As has been mentioned before, the obligation of the town on the local level is to inspect that farm on an annual basis by the town's animal inspector, barn inspector. It's one position. That was done approximately a year ago. As has been discussed, things obviously had deteriorated considerably over that period of time. And there have been, to our understanding, numerous inspections done by the state and the MSPCA, but we don't have any of those records yet. Those requests were made as early as November 30th approximately from the police department, my office. I know that the local press has made those requests, so this is a formal request to sort of get that piece, if you will, of this whole situation, is what happened on the state level.
So the request is in.
Yes.
Right, and
Yeah.
how long would that typically take? I mean, if I make a request to
It's supposed to be 10 days.
10
I believe.
days.
Okay, so did that happen?
And, excuse me, if you don't mind, Ann, I know you filed a request before us. Have you received anything back from the state?
Just that they couldn't respond in 10 days, and there's been a change in the law. It used to be that if I filed what we call a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act request, they had 10 days to reply. So they did indeed reply within that 10 days. The Sun just published an article about the change in that law. Now they have 10 days to supply the records. So I need to meet with the editors and find out where we're going to go with that from here.
Yes.
I just want to correct you, sir. The state of that farm, it's been like that for several years. It hasn't, it's just didn't happen overnight.
No, miss. It's
And I just want to say also that there was an oversight. Someone got an advantage because they know somebody and it was just overseen, and now the taxpayers basically flipping the bill. This could have been cleaned up through the course of a couple of years, and I've only lived here since 2013, but it's been in that state since we moved here.
Well,
it didn't happen overnight.
truthfully, miss, it's been in that state since
70s?
the 70s, probably, if not 60s.
Even
But
worse.
however, what in terms of the town, the barn inspector, animal inspector is solely there, whether there's a nuclear power plant there. She is solely there. Her title is to check on the animals and to see that the animals are being treated humanely. And as of last year, they were.
Right.
When I don't even think she made her visit this year until after the MSPCA was.
Right.
Someone dropped an anonymous.
What did he do different the previous years than what he did?
I-
The condition of those buildings and all the
Didn't happen.
debris that's everywhere didn't happen in 1 year.
Can I get the names, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you get your names and then I can answer these questions that I feel like we've answered?
MC Stewart.
Erica Kimberly.
So if you were at the last meeting, we discussed this. This has been an ongoing discussion for this board since I've been on it in 2012, and I'm sure prior to that. The building inspector, previous building inspector, not Mr.
current
Schultz, not the current one, had declared that he was exempt, which we challenged, and ultimately, I would say early October, November, town council met with us and determined that stature did not. We sent out, hopefully I'm not doing anything executive, but we sent out a letter, a public letter, a letter to him stating that he was in violation. And then it snowballed from then. The MSPCA took over, and now we've been talking about this every Tuesday since, or every day. So yes, it's been a mess for probably since some of us were born.
Is there any liability on behalf of the previous building inspector that I think we said he had written taken in 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it was his decision. I don't really think we could do anything in that respect. I mean, there was disagreement with officials on what to do and how to do it, and you know, you get into a farm. There's a lot of leeway with a farm, which you know you and I might not agree with, but they can do a lot more, unfortunately, than we can do in our yards. It's unfortunate that it's gotten to this point.
So Elizabeth Edwards, are they going to remove all them vehicles that's in that place? Or are they just going to move them over till they get rid of the rats and put them back again?
Do you want to answer or do you want me to answer?
So, through the chair, on December 27th, the Middlesex Superior Court ruled in favor of the town's request, which was to remove, the term is harborage, all of that debris as we discussed, because the exterminators did their assessment, and in addition to the rat infestation, in order to successfully exterminate it, as we discussed, all of that harborage had to be removed. The town went to the Middlesex Court to get authorization to remove all of that because though some may not agree with this, you can at least appreciate that legally all of that is Mr. McNiff's property. And rather than just remove it and be subject to claims that we removed his property and so forth, we got authorization from the court, agreed to remove all of that harborage on the 27th. It is a monumental task, as I'm sure many of you who live there can appreciate. Conservatively, they estimate 10 full days, and you've seen the heavy excavators out there removing the material, at least 10 days. The issue, so all of that is court ordered to be removed. The question of the vehicles, at that time, the court determined they did not want any of the vehicles removed from the property yet. And the reason being is actually threefold. One is the removal effort isn't even going to get to the vehicles yet. Secondly, the vehicles may or may not have gasoline, oil, and other fuels in it. That has to be determined. And though Mr. McNiff is still the legal owner of the property, he claims that some of these are of value. He does have certain rights as far as removing those. The court has said to the town, on the vehicles, we have to go back to court on January 13th for which is called a status hearing. And at that time, the issue of the vehicles will be discussed. In the process, the Department of Environmental Protection, the DEP, is going to be on site the end of this week to do an analysis on the vehicles to make sure that what's in them in terms of them being removed.
So basically the town is trying to do its due diligence here because we removed the wrong thing. Now we're back into litigation of something we shouldn't have removed that was valuable. I mean, we know where it all goes here, but to go back to court to do it the correct way is really the only prudent thing to do, unfortunately. And I think all of us would love to get every piece of heavy machinery in there and have the site cleaned up in 3 days and including the buildings, but unfortunately, it's a process. It's moved a little faster than I thought initially, so I am happy about that. But we are going to follow the guidelines that we spelled out on, was it the 6th or the 7th when we met with the Board of Health? 8th.
Yep.
So we've addressed the rats, or started to address the rats, the harborage. I believe he had 90 days to address the buildings.
So he's got about a little over 60
Little
days left.
60 days. And not just address the buildings where him and a couple guys are going to come in and clean them up on a Saturday. I mean, it has to be licensed, approved contractors, stuff like that.
And approved by the court.
And approved by the court. So I think that's kind of where we stand at this point.
The animal inspector said that she thought something, drastically had gone wrong very recently to allow these conditions to get to the point they are. Does she, she goes out annually. I saw pictures of this most recent, her most recent visit, which were disturbing. Does she take pictures when she's out every year? So last November, are there photographs that really show that it was a top-notch, tip-top farm then, and then this year, no?
To that question, Mr. Magno, what we can say, because it is the public record, is she goes out there annually and she keeps a thing called a barn book and does the inspection. And they have to, the conditions that the animals are in and the condition of the animals and so forth have to meet these minimum standards. And the key word is minimum standards, because the minimum standards are probably not your standards or my standards, but the minimum standards. What we do know on the local level, those annual inspections, the animals met the minimum standard. What we also know, it is public record, that since that last inspection, another individual got involved with the property, another individual brought a bunch of other agricultural animals onto that property. Through the inspections that were done by the MSPCA, and we don't have those reports, but from what our local people do know, there were charges brought against one of those individuals in the Ayer Superior Court last week for 8 charges of animal cruelty. There was evidence of animal cannibalism. There were dead animal carcasses, etc. Those conditions had not been observed by the local inspectors prior to November. So when she did her annual check, each year there were not the cannibal conditions, there were not the dead animals, even the issue of the rats at that level. Now, we could debate that all night, but what I'm saying is that in that last year, another individual did become involved. There were a whole bunch of animals that were there that actually weren't even supposed to be there, that the MSPCA removed sometime between November the 23rd.
Without us even knowing, right?
Yeah, that was before we knew about it, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
If you look at the timeline, there was a complaint. We don't know the nature of the complaint. What we do know on November 23rd, so in the afternoon, the day before Thanksgiving, the MSPCA was out there. Our local folks did not even know that until Monday the 28th, when a representative from the State Department of Agriculture contacted our local people and wanted the building inspector and the health inspector on site on the 28th, and that's what started this. But what we do know, based on the annual inspections on the local level, that the last one that was done, there were certain things that were definitely not evident at that time. The cannibalism of the animals, the dead animals. There was a significant amount of specifically pigs that were from this other individual that were not sanctioned to be there. You have to have a license to feed them this processed garbage. These pigs were removed right away. So they were by the MSPCA. And we're trying to get that piece, if you will, of all of this information. We don't have that.
So if I could add, and I think I said this last, contact, if you could. I mean, I know I welcome you guys. It's nice to see you come every meeting. It really is, because I know you're concerned. Contact the Department of Agriculture. Contact Senator Eldridge, Jennifer Benson. I believe that's her area over there, right? The town splits. We have 2 state reps, and Sheila Harrington as well has always been helpful in other parts of town. And tell them that we want the answers from the state, because we're not getting them. And in my opinion, I think there's negligence on their part. That's inspections probably didn't happen, because you don't go from 0 to 60 that fast. And I know their inspections are, I'm not sure, every couple months, or according to Mr. McNiff, they're once a month, but I'm not sure how that works. But we don't know because they've stonewalled us on their reports.
The other piece, until the 28th of November, and that was a Monday when the health inspector and the building inspector on the local level were given access to the property. On the building issues, and there are no question people's concerns about the visual condition, but the 28th was the first time that the building inspector, the current building inspector, had ever been into the residence, into the barn's basement, in the back, was given access to assess, if you will, the structural issues that were brought forth in the report as well. Up until that time, a lot of it had been street, site, observation, and so forth.
And that was the focus of this board. It was never animals. It was always the junk, the visual junk, the cars, and nothing with the animals, as we've stated the last
We'd always
meeting.
been told the animals were taken care of.
Yes. Just a couple quick questions, and Robert can provide his update. I'm sorry.
Hi, thank you. I did not mention it at the last meeting. I did tell you that the meat that was, or the animals that was taken away was from a local farmer, Blood Farms. I've seen them twice. They were there on the night of Thanksgiving at 11:40 because I came back from my shopping, and when that the truck tipped over, their truck was there loading up animals. So I just want to put it out there that Blood Farms came to pick up animals. And I have a witness. Had someone with me in the car and was kind of upset because I buy my meat from there occasionally, and I was kind of disturbed to think that they were getting their meat from there. And ever since there was no trace in the news saying where the animals have gone, you said it was a state issue, and I don't have the time to bring this up, but I'm willing to say that I've seen Blood Farms at the farm picking up animals. So.
Well, and that brings up something interesting as far as, whoever has animals and then they're selling them to slaughter, there's got to be some records. So, and that's the other thing, that's why we want to get these records, because who's certifying that these animals were being taken care of above our local person that allowed this to continue, and then anyone who's buying these animals and then selling them to somebody like us, where is their certification process that they're having to follow that the animals that they got are clean? So, yeah, this has opened up a humongous can of worms as far as even that little paper trail. So I agree with what she's saying.
It's a valid point. I mean, I don't want to specifically pick out companies. I mean, they could have been there to help out move the pigs.
No,
but I'm with you. I'm just trying to be diplomatic here. But you're right. What goes back to the state is if these animals were cannibalizing other animals, eating rats, in with rats, like I said at the last meeting, look up what rats can carry, and this was allowed to go on. Where was the state to figure this out? Because obviously, as soon as our inspector and the MSPCA stepped behind the gates of hell, as I'd like to call them now, it was pretty evident what was going on there. So it's very frustrating that we cannot seem to get any response or anybody from the state to let us know what's going on, which leads me to believe that it's one of these things that pop up in Massachusetts every once in a while where the phantom inspections never took place, and now it's backtracking. Yes, I said that publicly. All right.
I second it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones, you had a question, and then one more.
Yeah, James Jones, 5 Lilac Lane. I'm just wondering, is any sort of prosecuting attorney or the Middlesex DA, have they been involved in this at all?
There is 2 tracks to this, I think, as everybody knows. There's the civil track, which the town is heavily involved in, and there's the criminal track. And there was the one individual that the 8 charges were brought forth last week. So yes, they are involved on the whole animal cruelty, that all of those charges, there is that criminal aspect to it. What is the status of that investigation? We know that we know basically what you know is that the court found 8 counts against one of the individuals. Whether the other individual will be charged, we don't know. We don't know what the status of that is. We don't, again, have any of the reports from the MSPCA or from the State Department of Agriculture. And through the chair, as the lady in the back did ask, the local health inspector has asked numerous times. We're very concerned when those animals were being transported during that period of November 23rd through December 17th, exactly where they were going, and we're not sure exactly where they all went. But the state would know because the state oversees that.
You would think.
Yeah.
And that was the whole cone of secrecy. You know, dark came and 5 guys showed up and there was fires burning and, as you said, machines running in the middle of the night. And so who knows?
And there hasn't been any other investigations from the DA's office about, I would say, neglect on the part of the town or the state. Or is there all just been criminal investigations from the DA's point of view of the owner and the people involved with the animals? There's no investigation of, because I mean, for the previous building inspector to do what he did with town, that's almost not, smells of corruption.
Yeah, but to clarify though, that was about the buildings, and that was initially this board's. No one ever dreamt that there was issues with the animals, honestly, and I can speak for that because the day I was elected, I brought that farm up about how awful it was, the buildings, the junk. I think I sat here at this table and said, Ralph, throw it over the fence so people can't see it. It was where I was at. I never envisioned harm to animals. Obviously, none of us knew that. Obviously, we would have taken that much more seriously. This is all new to us. It being an absolute atrocious dumping ground, that's been there since the 70s. However,
there's waste disposal laws and things like that.
Well,
so there's criminal activity and things that were ignored, which the town does have jurisdiction over. They could have stepped in and did not.
What's that?
When did we know of potential criminal
I'm not talking about
activity?
you guys. I'm talking about the town overall is responsible for the decades of neglect and crap that's built up there.
Well, I think part of that is just our laws catching up with people's properties.
Burned and nothing was done about it because people knew the guy and didn't want to do anything about it.
Oh, this dates back to the 60s or 70s. This isn't something that just arose in 2008.
But this is, as my layman's opinion, is almost criminal type activity and almost cartel-like.
The question that I would have is, if you want to pursue it, I don't know why the media, and I'm excluding you, Ann, because you've written several articles on it, but the media keeps talking about him and being evicted and the house being boarded up. No one has seemed to follow the negligence or lack of follow through with the state, and that seems to be concerning because we know how things tend to move in Massachusetts when the public is eyes shown on these state agencies. And I really truly believe there's something there that they're hiding. And for some reason, the only people that seem to be questioning are the little son and us, and we don't really seem to be getting much of an answer. So I would strongly encourage you to contact Senator Eldridge, as I will do as a citizen tomorrow myself, to see if we can get some of these agencies to at least offer up some records. And like you said, where do these animals go? Because if those animals were contaminated, this could have turned into a huge issue if those animals were sick or had E. coli or whatever and were sold. And
well, that's still yet to be determined.
Well, all I can assure you is we're doing everything possible to get the site cleaned up and expedited as quickly as possible. And no one likes staring at $107,000 after 3 weeks. But the alternative is we just walk away and let it sit there for a while. But you'll have new friends instead of the squirrels in your neighborhood if we did that. So we're working proactively to get rid of that issue. Ken?
Can you speak to, as of today, where we are with the rats?
Can I have your name, please?
Ken Bashara, Rosalie, One Rosalie.
Thank you.
You got that, Robert? I think there was a report today with that.
Yeah. So the extermination process of the rat infestation has commenced daily, obviously, since December 27th. Two things are happening concurrently. The contractor working with the exterminator is removing all of that harborage that we discussed. There's quite a ways still to go on that. The issue of the vehicles will ultimately be resolved on January 13th. The extermination continues daily. There are 4 to 5 exterminators that are involved daily on the site. There are approximately 250 traps that are set twice a day. They are also actively removing the rats. I ask them every day, as does the health inspector, that the infestation remains contained to 66 Westford Road, which as of today, it does. They do some low level of feeding to help keep that contained as they continue to eradicate the rats. They told us from the beginning it'd be a 5-week process daily, and they have upheld that. They've been there every day. So progress, relative term, but progress is being made. I think the important thing to take away is, one, it's contained to 66. They monitor that every day and take measures to make sure it's contained to 66. We don't want the thing, infestation, moving, obviously. And the numbers are slowly but positively moving on the downward, and the removal of the harborage as well.
And that, if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, they can't just go in and just blast the site with machines. I think they have to move kind of
Correct.
systematically, where they move some things
Yeah.
and then treat the area, and then so it's not like they can go in with, trailer dump after trailer dump and remove stuff and tear down buildings, because I think the risk is to disturb and have things scatter.
Do we know, do we have an advantage because of the time of year we're at?
Yes.
With the weather? I mean, if this was happening in the summer, I would think.
I would think it, yeah.
I would think it would be worse, yeah.
Yes.
And I think the smell from tearing everything
I
up
mean,
would
about
be.
keeping them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what we're been told.
Again, I still have concerns around the containment because they're moving stuff around, and I'm not seeing any walls go up. So how do I know that?
I don't
rats
think,
aren't coming onto my property?
sir, I don't think I'd be walking in your woods behind your house, because.
Yeah, well, I've already told my kids I can't. go
Yeah,
back
no,
there.
I'm not talking about the rats. I'm talking about the walls, the traps, and I mean they've had specific instructions to make sure that was the first and number one priority, to keep the animals on site.
Yes.
They do daily inspections. We get the emails every day that they go out and they
So-
check.
So they were putting traps in those woods right.
Well, I don't know if it's behind the woods, but I'm sure there's.
I've got no notification people because that's.
Well, I believe the only traps are only on the
Yeah.
property of
Poison.
the farm.
They
So-
have an established perimeter on the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there details around what that perimeter entails that we can publicly view?
Well, there's no trespass on the property, so I would say don't go on the property, because.
I know, like something written down of what it actually is.
I will, through the chair, I will check with the exterminators about a report.
Are we shooting them?
Some of you, through the chair, some of you should have received a robocall or an email on the 27th. On occasion, you will hear, it sounds like shots. They're air rifles, and not to get too graphic into it from what I understand, but as they remove material, they're using a system of baits and traps, and also they do occasionally shoot them. So you will hear that. Yeah, you may have heard like a popping sound. Yes.
I think they're becoming quite the sharpshooter now.
And just through the chair, for the public to be very clear, these are professional exterminators. All of the carcasses of the rats, not to be graphic, but everything is cataloged and contained and removed and disposed of off-site.
Yeah, we have pictures. It's nasty,
Yeah.
but they do catalog
but-
everything they.
And will that report become public record?
Pardon?
Will that report become public record?
Through the chair, yes.
Yeah.
I want to speak to them about an update, and yes.
Just one more question, sir, and then we're going to continue with the update.
This is Patel, 3 Lilac Lane. Last meeting, we had a conversation about the exterminator, whether they are going to come and inspect neighboring houses, whether there is any infestation, any rats already in our property. Is that going to be done, or it will be done later, or it's not at all a choice? Or I need to have my own, somebody come in and take a look at it, whether I have any problem.
From what I understand, and whether they went on your property or not, I trust me, I don't know anything about rats besides they're nasty, and I'd run the other way if I saw one. But they're able to track their habits, their routes, and it didn't extend anywhere beyond the property. It was basically kind of settled in one area.
So the good news is that none of you have anything in your property that they like. So that's the good news.
And to the credit to Board of Health officials and town officials, I'm sure, Christmas Eve night and, the day after Christmas, it was not the last place they wanted to be was out there throwing bread to rats. But I mean, that's ultimately what it's come down to, is that town officials have had to step up and basically feed them, so they would stay on the property.
So we're okay while Mr. McNiff feeds the rats?
He's not.
He's not.
He's not. Mr. McNiff is not allowed on the property.
Related to the cleanup activities, I am right behind it. I have seen almost 100 plus barrels, the blue barrels, getting cleaned up. So, and a lot of questions about dumping ground. Is there any clearly identified, or do we have clarification? What's being brought in that blue barrel, or what happens?
Just to, and I'll let Robert answer, but I've done some tearing down of houses and stuff. Everything has to be, whatever's delivered in a dumpster is the responsibility of the person delivering the dumpster to the disposal place. So if there's anything, like even tires are not something you just throw in a dumpster and dump. Everything has to be sorted and set aside and gone through. Anything suspicious, hence the DEP coming out this week to test and make sure in the special places where you can get rid of this stuff. But the contractor's doing his due diligence in terms of seeing what, obviously wood is wood, but if you get in barrels with chemicals in them, that's when the DEP becomes involved. I can't really tell from the street, but from the pictures I saw today, it looked like there was significant progress. I don't know if you guys can see it up in the neighborhood of 3 days, 4 days they've been there. So it's been pretty significant already. So quite a ways to go.
Mr. Patel, through the chair, the majority of those blue barrels that you saw largely contained rotting animal feed and or standing water. Everything that the contractor is removing, as the chair mentioned, as well as sorted and goes into dumpsters to an approved site, so it's all, again, handled sensitive to the environment. As I mentioned earlier, the Department of Environmental Protection is coming out either on Thursday or Friday to meet with the health inspector and the building inspector to do an analysis of the site. That analysis will include what's contained in all of the vehicles in terms of fuel. There are a couple of large plastic tanks that are there that we are told from Mr. McNiff contain vegetable oil. The DEP will assess that. There have also been some claims made, or concerns also brought up from residents and so forth about it being a dumping ground or so forth. The DEP will also assess the land, if you will. So that process will begin either Thursday or Friday with the town.
Thank you.
And again, through the chair, any report on that would also be public record once we get a report.
And just so everybody understands, this office, and I don't mean Janice and I mean, we're kind of on the periphery during the day. We get emails and updates. Carly, Robert, the building inspector, I mean, this has been almost a 24/7 venture since it started. So I want you to realize that this has consumed them and basically us on our meetings. I mean, we're getting into budget time and really where things start to get moving for the town for the spring. the budget coming up, and to some degree it's been delayed somewhat because of this, but this has been the number one focus of this office and everybody that's in it in this building. So I do applaud them all for that, because it's not in daily site visits. I know Mr. Pomprian likes to head out there at least twice a day, but there's a lot of work that's gone into this. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Robert, do you want to continue?
Just in the interest of time to the board, I just have one action item under my report, but just to hit a couple of last points. Most of the ground was covered on the Westford Road update, which I was going to give. As mentioned, on December 27th, the court authorized the town's plan for the removal of the harborage and the extermination. That process, as mentioned, is underway daily by the professionals. We will, as some follow-ups, get some of those reports and information available to the public. The first and last question asked every day by me and others to the exterminators, as covered, that the rat infestation is contained to 66 Westford Road. That is our priority, to contain it and to ultimately remove it. It is approximately a 5-week process, and after that 5-week process, there will be monthly monitoring and annual monitoring on the rat infestation. That's part of the whole treatment plan on that. The harborage removal is basically everything on the 5-acre site except for the vehicles per the court. The DEP, as mentioned, will be out here Thursday or Friday to do an assessment on the vehicles as well as the property on that. I should also mention that per the court order on December 28th, I was on site with the building inspector and the health inspector, along with Mr. McNiff and his legal counsel. This was per the court, so he had an opportunity to assess the site. It's important to note that the no trespass order remains in effect for the entire property. Ayer Police Department has been enforcing that order. There have been some violators of that order that have been charged, so there's no trespass to the entire site. The property does remain the legal property of Mr. Ralph McNiff, so he does have, through an established protocol through the town, the right to access the property as accompanied by the Ayer Police Department. That has not occurred recently. Per the Board of Selectmen's order and the Board of Health's order from December the 8th, which became filed with the court on December 16th, his 30 days, there were 30 days for the plan for the vehicles, so we'll be back in court on January 13th with the status update. And the clock began on December 16th for 90 days in terms of the house and the structural plan. What that means is that the property owner has 90 days from December 16th to submit to the building inspector an approved structural plan to remediate the house. That has not come forth yet. And lastly, per the court order, nobody is allowed back on the property, nor are any animals allowed back on the property unless authorized by the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Health, which obviously isn't going to happen at this time. So in terms of next steps, we will continue daily with the extermination and the harborage removal. We will go back to the court on the 13th. The DEP will be out the end of this week. At the next Selectmen's meeting, we'll probably be bringing forth the recommendation for the lien authorization for the costs to the property. And we will continue to, as the orders from the Board of Health and Board of Selectmen on December 8th said, to remediate and abate the dangerous conditions at that property.
Could I also suggest that we maybe at the next meeting discuss if the town has any legal recourse with the state regarding anything that comes up from their inspections if we ever finally get a hold of them? I know I asked Attorney Corbo that back on the 8th, and he said that it's something to discuss, moving down the road.
I made a note of that. And Mr. Chairman, if I may, because the board has said repeatedly tonight about the public contacting the state, The State Department of Agriculture, the specific public official to contact is Mr. Michael Cahill. Mr. Michael Cahill is the Director of Animal Health for the State Department of Agriculture, and he has had, to my knowledge, the contact with the MSPCA. So if folks are interested in a direct contact at the state, that's where one of your letters is going to to him, and the other one is going to the MSPCA.
And the legislatures,
And
they
they're
are
CC'd on. Yeah.
yes, please. They're very approachable, and they are very helpful when asked. Well, if they agree with us. What's that?
What I find surprising is the MSPCA did not inform the town when they started removing animals from the property due to these other charges.
Was it the night before Thanksgiving, or it was that?
Yeah, from what we know, on the 23rd in the afternoon, they responded to a complaint there. They actively worked on that site from the 23rd to the 28th of November. It was on the morning of the 28th of November that the state and the MSPCA contacted the local folks. They continued to work on that site, for our knowledge, from November the 28th through December the 16th, but not in full consultation or cooperation with the town.
No.
And in fact, on December 16th, when the court ruled in the town's favor for us to secure and board the property, there were 35 pigs remaining on the property. And when I asked the MSPCA for assistance in relocating those pigs, because we're not in that business, I was told, quote unquote, the court's ruled, it's your problem now, deal with it. So we fed those pigs for 2 days.
This is our state agency.
And then it was the town, we fed and took care of those pigs for the 2 days. And then Mr. McNiff with the town, for what it's worth, we removed those on that Saturday morning. So to quote the health inspector and to quote the building inspector, in our experience, the MSPCA has been, in our opinion, less than cooperative in this matter. And the record reflects that.
I agree. Janice?
I was just going to say, just to kind of reiterate what Robert just said, is that within 3 seconds of the court saying it's the town of Ayer's responsibility, the MSPCA said, all the animals are fine now, and walked away.
And mind you, this was about 4:30, 5 o'clock when we
So
finally got the
somewhere
court
in
order on a
3
Friday night.
seconds, the animals went to, they're in danger to, oh, the town of Ayer is involved, they've got it. And they didn't even give us 5 minutes of a turnover.
And not to defend Mr. McNiff, but I mean, he could have walked away. He did come, like he said, to the court. He offered. He came the next morning, like he said, and did remove the animals, thankfully.
Yep.
Or we'd probably still be out there feeding them. So the state has been really not helpful at all. And I'm hoping to shed some light on that, and because I think there's a deeper story there.
I think there's money behind it.
Whatever there is, we're getting the raw end of the stick, the town, and we're stuck paying for it. Thankfully, we live in a community that is understandable and understands that things need to get done sometimes. But
as I recall, Google Earth has a history of aerial photographs of properties. Might be interesting to research that and record those images as evidence of the state of the property. And as I recall, it's not wise for a cattleman to allow his flock to walk across a field strewn with car parts because the damage to an animal's hoof.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't think there's any disagreement there.
So if that's the case, and those photographs show that that was the case even then, and the MSPCA or the inspectors actually approved these places, then that's negligence.
Well, what I'd like to know, and not to belabor this, because I mean, were there actual inspections? Was it? You hear about these things with the DCF, and something tragic happens, and then all of a sudden, oh, we didn't have enough inspectors to go visit that home, or we didn't go there, or we tried to get there but we couldn't. And it seems to me that if everything was done correctly, not that I want to throw stones, actually I do want to throw stones. If everything was done correctly, that they would be more than willing, as we have, to release everything that's been done, when it was done, when the records were done, you know, and Anne filed, what, 2 weeks ago for a public records request? Nothing. We've got nothing, no response. So, I mean, it seems it's really getting frustrating.
Would Mr. Nick
So-
be responsible for any of the animal cruelty because he's the owner and it's his property?
That is all handled through, like,
Yeah, the criminal.
Our,
courts would have
it's
to
not
do it.
through our
Yeah.
police department. The MSPCA takes precedence on that, and so far they've determined that the other individual has been the one to be charged with the animal cruelty at this time. That doesn't mean there'll be other things that won't come up, but as far as we know, we're not exactly. I don't think any of us have been left with a lot of information from MSPCA or the state regarding that as well. Janice, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
That's okay. So don't throw stones, throw boulders, okay?
Careful, you might kill a rat.
Well, it's like shooting fish in a
Wait
canal.
a
So.
Oh my God, this is. You know what's also kind of interesting is that I don't know if anybody else saw this headline, but you know the ballot question about farm animals, and it passed, and boom, here we are. But in another town, and I can't remember the town, but it was around the same time that this was all coming to light for us. There was another town that had a farm that all of a sudden, after that ballot question passed, that they went in and found out that the animals are being mistreated. So that kind of leads me to think that, you know, the local level can only do so much. There has to be a state level overlooking everything. So it does start looking a little bit smelly as far as where were they. And I think you're right. I think they're going to say, well, we didn't have enough workers and everything like that. Well, then create jobs and hire them so that this can all get done.
Or assume responsibility for costs.
too.
or-
You know?
So-
And be man enough or woman enough, however the phrase is supposed to be said nowadays. And speak up when you see something wrong. And I'm talking about at the state levels and stuff.
How far does this state of emergency extend? Does it extend beyond 66 Westwood Road, maybe to the borders of Ayer?
I believe that this is
It's
only
just
for this particular
66.
Only for this particular-
Right.
property and the spending.
It's a shame because we might be able to get all these other properties inspected that we've not been able to see, particularly if they have animals on board. Don't want this happening again, guys.
No,
none of us do.
That's going to bring that up under Selectmen's questions. But anyways, I can assure you, and I'm not one to mince words, everybody's working as hard as they can on this, on the town level. And it's unfortunate we've had no help whatsoever from the state, but I would encourage you, I appreciate you're all here, but I would encourage you to contact state officials, news media. I mean, that tends to get people moving when cameras are in their face too. I know Ann's tried, so we'll keep pushing away to try to get these records and at least have an understanding of when this started. And
One other key point on that is the record should reflect that when you convened the joint meeting with the Board of Health on December the 8th, we specifically invited the State Department of Agriculture and the MSPCA to attend, and they didn't.
Correct.
And they have all of our records, but we don't have any of theirs.
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I believe Chief Murray had made repeated
Yes.
requests right off the bat to get records that he was
Yeah.
denied.
Well, they just haven't produced.
Yeah, they haven't produced. So
And just to kind of jump on what he said and to reiterate this, your voices contacting state officials, even if only one of you calls, ends up being a lot louder than if we call.
yeah, they usually hang up when I call. So
You know,
I
because
call a lot. But,
they would kind of give us the run around. You call. It's a different reaction on the other end.
and they're
So
very
you do
responsive.
have the power
Our legislatures, they're very good.
to get even more information and to help move this along.
All right. I think that pretty much closes that up on this for until the next meeting.
Tell me if it.
And then
Chihuahua
honestly,
walks
folks,
by me.
sign up for the Code Red. I believe you can do it. Can you do it on this town website?
Yes.
Mhm.
So a lot of people don't, but what it does is it allows the police department. I don't know if many of you have got the message. I actually forwarded it to Paul to put on your group page because a lot of people don't use their home phones, but you can register your cell phones. But it allows the police department any type of emergency to target your neighborhoods or whatever to let you know anything, missing children, you name it. Power lines down in the case of the air rifles. So go on the site and sign up because it's a very useful tool.
They can call your landline, they'll cell phone, and I think you'll
Yeah.
even get an email.
Email.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very easy, and it's a nice tool that the department has and uses quite a bit. But a lot of people haven't signed up for it. All right, is that it regarding that, Robert?
That's it. And then as far as my report, Mr. Chair, there's just one action item, which is the appointment of the police lieutenant as the police department records access officer. You appointed me as for all of the town. Under the new law, we're allowed to have more than one access officer. The chief and I are recommending that the police lieutenant be appointed to handle the police department records. So that would just be a motion.
I make a motion that Lieutenant Gill be appointed the police department records access officer, effective immediately.
Seconded.
All in favor, Janice?
Aye.
Chair says aye.
That's it for my report tonight.
Real quick, I just wanted to, and I think I mentioned this, and Robert, I apologize, I missed your email about the agenda. I think it would behoove us, once we're settled, maybe next meeting, is to have everybody together and go over the new bylaws that were passed in the spring or last spring, and make sure we're all on the same page. And not just regarding this property, but I just don't want to see this come up again in 10 years or whatever, long after we're not sitting here. But abandoned vehicles, harborage, stuff like that, that was pretty much overhauled. Was it this past spring or?
Yeah, it was finally approved
So,
by the Attorney General. Like
maybe
in
just
May
sit
or
down
something.
and discuss who's, because it can't all fall on Charlie, who has been, overwhelmed with, not only is he handling the farm, he's handling all the inspections, building inspections in town as well. And I know it falls on other departments too, so maybe we can kind of come up with
Okay.
Maybe we should hire another inspector.
Well, that's,
Do you know how long it took us to get this one? What was it, 3 years? And how many different articles that had to be written? And I mean,
I'm not even going to touch
took
this
us
one.
a good
but
3 years to get this one.
Sounds like we did well.
Oh, we did well on this one.
We did very well.
We did well on this one.
We did very well, thankfully. Is that it? Anything else?
I have nothing. Oh,
All right,
just
it's just
did-
minutes.
just a quick bounce off on the bylaws. If we can just get an update on all our bylaw review, how it's been going, and
Okay.
where we need to maybe pick up and fix or address anything like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, other than that,
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 8th. Was it the 20th, Carly? You said weren't ready?
Right.
December 8th, 2016.
seconded.
All in favor? Janice?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Minutes approved, and we will defer the 20th until the next meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, I've been a little busy with
Yeah, a little busy with rats.
Feeding the rats,
and just-
going to buy the bread to get for the
Yeah.
rats.
And
Yeah.
just so happened the holidays fell.
Yeah,
And a
so
couple snowstorms. I look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Meeting is